Hi, Susan. How are you? Nice to see you.
Good. Nice to see you too, Vicky.
So, we're actually just going to have a bit of a laugh here because Susan and I were doing this interview half an hour ago and we realised we hadn't recorded it. So, we're having to do it all again, folks. So,
It's going to be amazing this time.
yeah. So,
Yes.
can you introduce yourself to our listeners, Susan?
Okay, I'll make a better job this time because I hadn't prepared for the first time anyway. I'm Susan. I'm nearly 56. I'm a teacher and a mum, and I like sport and I don't like competitions generally.
Okay. And you'd entered a large event, or what was a large event for you, in May. And would you be able to describe that event to everybody and explain it a little bit?
Yep, so it was based in Aberfoyle, round all the lochs there. It's called the Grand Old Dukes. It was mainly off road, 180 kilometres, and it was supposed to have 3,000 metres of climbing, but it had 3,606 metres of climbing.
Whoa.
606 more than I was thinking.
Wow.
It would have.
That's a long way and a lot of climbing. That's the kind of scale of climbing that you get in the Alps, really.
And it was chunky gravel, like some fire roads, but a lot of chunky stuff, so not smooth.
Yeah.
Not smooth roads, which is what I would more be used to.
Familiar with.
Yeah.
And in terms of what motivated you to enter the challenge, was there something in particular that came along that you thought, yeah, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, so I've met this lovely bunch of girls who I met through a mountain biking group, and some of them are really awesome athletes, and they do a lot of organising events up and around Aberfoyle. They organise the Duke's Weekender things. They organise a lot of events to try and make cycling more inclusive. Nice. They've been part of getting the gravel foil thing more widely known and bringing people into the area. And they wanted more women to enter this event. So you could do it as a team, you could do half of it, you could do the whole thing. And the whole thing had a really predominantly male entry. Right. So they had just put on a chat that a few of us were on, like, we'd really like it if some of you would enter. Yeah. And it was a peer pressure thing. I just got carried away by the excitement and put my name down. Basically. Yeah.
And then the fact that you felt like you had a kind of support group and that kind of social network, do you find that helps with your motivation?
Yeah, and just that there's such nice girls, and I just really felt like, so I think 6 or 7 of us put our names down, and every single one of us really wanted to finish it so that, we could say, or so that the girl that organised it could say, all my girls finished this, So that was like a big thing in my head. I didn't want to be one of, the only one that didn't do it kind of thing. And I was definitely the oldest out of all of them. So I was giving myself a wee bit of kind of like, oh, well, if you can't manage it, you are the oldest. But at the same time, I didn't want that to be a barrier.
No. Yeah, and because you've sort of spoken about that a couple of times in terms of that idea of letting people down, and that sort of you don't want to let either your friends or your coach or the girls in the is it the Dirt Divas sort of girls? Yeah, you don't want to feel like you've let them down.
No, and that's a wee bit of a motivator for me. So, makes me do things that I wouldn't always normally do. So I suppose that's quite good. Yeah.
And at the start of your training experience, when you decided, right, oh my goodness, this is a big event. Why do you think that getting a coach on board was the right thing to do? And would you be able to explain a little bit of that to the listeners?
Well, I basically knew that I wouldn't have been able to organise myself to do it. It was too big a challenge. It wasn't like anything I'd ever done before, so I didn't know. I suppose I would have just gone out long cycles. I wouldn't have known how to space it out. I wouldn't have thought of loads of the things that you help me think about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you made me think. You helped me think about what to eat, when to eat, what to drink, what to wear, what to take in my bag.
Mm-hmm.
You helped me space out and build up the
Mm-hmm.
miles so
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't get injured, so that I didn't get ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I said to you before, basically, I didn't want to have to use my brain in my leisure time.
Yeah.
I wanted to go out on my bike and enjoy nature and let my brain, you know, not have to work.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to do all of that for me, so that I could have a mental break. And that was a massive part of it for me, was just that I absolved myself of all responsibility in the decision making.
And we spoke about this earlier and mentioned that from my point of view, I don't feel that that's really what did happen, because I feel like I quite often put the responsibility back onto the athletes to explain what it is that they need. And maybe you're kind of doing that slightly subconsciously, because I'll sort of be asking for feedback and saying, well, what you think went well and what you think didn't go so well, and ultimately you are giving me then that you're giving me the guidance and you're giving me the direction that things need to go. So you're probably a lot more responsible and a lot more autonomous than you think you are.
But you managed to make me feel that I wasn't, so that was good. yeah.
And then as you were sort of getting into your training, was there anything in particular that you felt was really surprising or really interesting? And you sort of hinted at some of the things there, you know, like some of the details that you were coming up with.
Yeah, so away at the beginning, I said I didn't like competitions because I've always found them stressful, and I don't want to do stressful things in my leisure time. But I think the reason I've found them stressful is that I've never approached them in an organised fashion.
Yeah.
And with you working with me and just step by step getting me organised, it was a lot less stressful than I thought it was going to be. And some just really basic common sense things that I didn't get my brain organised enough to think. Like go and ride some of the route.
Yeah.
You know, go and actually check out the actual route.
Yeah.
So I think I went with a variety of different people and did different chunks of it. I did some of it on my own. I did some wee short chunks. I did some big long ones to see, you know, where I would get water.
Yeah,
you know, that was the kind of thing that you'd said to me. I got really good at looking at houses to see if they'd outside taps and things like that in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Oh, there's a hose. There's a hose. I can fill up my water bottle there. So things like that. And also just like what you would eat, because I thought it was going to take me about 12 hours. So I was going to have like 12 hours worth of food. Plus, obviously, I was exerting myself.
Absolutely,
so 12 hours of food for exerting myself. So, yeah, like really early on in the training, you said to start thinking about that. And so that was good, because if I'd been organising it, I would have probably thought about it the week before and I would have had a guess at what to take rather than actually trying and testing, you know, things. And things like, obviously, things go wrong with your bike. So having the tools to fix punctures and seat posts and, you know, that kind of thing. Plasters in case you fall off, you know, definitely fell off a few times. So by the time the actual day came, I had a bag full of all the food I knew was the right thing for me. I knew I had all the right drinks. I knew where I could get more drinks. I had all the right tools, you know, and I knew what to do if there was any kind of emergency, you know. So I didn't have the sort of mental nervous stress that I would have had before. Because you had just gradually prepared me for all these things. And I felt kind of physically ready by then, more or less, because I'd done the distances that you'd suggested.
And those things are really to do with like competencies and skills and resources, and just building up that nice armory, of stuff, things that are
Yeah.
in your kind of, it's almost like a psychological backpack of things that you've stored up and that you can draw on and use during the day
Yeah.
as your
Yeah.
kind of mental preparation, I suppose.
Yep, and they're all there now for the next time as well. So I've got
Mhm.
all these wee lists on my phone in my notes app
Mhm.
about, for events,
Yeah.
what I will pack in my bag,
Nice.
what I will buy to eat, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And obviously different events would tweak them a wee bit, but like
Yeah.
I've got it all there now, sort of organised.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good to hear that, because it lets me see that your kind of confidence levels changed, and that was one of the questions that we had, that it feels like your kind of confidence levels changed then throughout that process, where you sort of come to have a better belief in yourself. I don't know if that would be the right thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like I've always got this imposter syndrome thing because I always think, oh yeah, I did manage that, but I must have just been having a good day. The next time it will be harder. But I'm also insightful enough to know that at age 55, 56, that is a ridiculous way to think as well. Like I probably am more confident, but I'm just not one of these super confident people. So, I'm pragmatically confident.
Yes.
I know that I can train to do something now, which I didn't really know before.
Yeah.
And I will do other things based on that kind of success of getting that to the end.
Yeah. And you'd mentioned sort of one or two bits and bobs during the day that you thought you had to sort of prepare for, and then prior to the event itself, do you feel as though you sort of overcame any particular setbacks?
Yeah, I was really not well for a couple of months, and that stopped me being able to do the physical training, and that did make me feel really frustrated. So, mentally I was like really unhappy, basically. I wanted to go out and do stuff, and you were good at just saying no, don't. You'll make yourself more ill. So that was a setback that was dealt with by having you to keep me right, kind of thing. And also having you to then, when I started to feel better, to tell me how to ease into it properly. So that I did, because I didn't have the kind of, I just didn't have the experience to know how you build up when you've been not well. So that was a setback. And it kind of meant that as I was training, I was never really sure if I was going to be able to do it or not, because I didn't have a lot of time once I started. So I didn't have the kind of certainty at any point really up until I finished it, that I would definitely finish it. I did sort of maybe the week before begin to think, oh yeah, maybe I could actually do this kind of thing. So that was the biggest setback. There was other wee minor setbacks like mechanical things and losing keys and stuff like that, like organisational things. Panicked rides through the dark forest to try and find the keys. So that I will never, ever, ever lose keys again.
What pocket are they going to be in, Susan? Which
I'll
pocket?
Never not. Yeah. Well, you see, I had deliberately not put them in a pocket because I thought, well, what if my pocket gets a hole and they fall out? So I'll put them in this bag, this bag that's on my back. But then obviously, if you take the bag off your back and don't put it back on, then you lose the keys. But it was fine. I got them back. There was no big. I suppose I was out with a friend that day, and it was raining, it was cold, and we had to make a decision in the dark. Do we both go and look for these keys, or does one of us go back to civilization? And I felt so responsible. I said, like, you have to go back to civilization, and then at least somebody knows that one of us is missing if I don't appear. Whereas if we're both missing, then that's harder. So we had to make decisions like that, and that was good. Just even for on the day, if somebody was ill or whatever, what would we do? So yeah. And also like kind of riding with people that are maybe not as fit as you or fitter than you, sort of getting the conversations out the way about what you would do on the day. A big 12-hour event. Do we stick together through thick and thin? Or do we start together and then do we go at our own pace? So we got all those wee conversations out so that we knew what we would do on the day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's great because it means that you've got all your little rules and boundaries sorted out and you're not left wondering in that moment, what are we meant to do here? Because we might disagree.
Well, we were part of a group and we did all want to support each other. And we all felt a bit responsible for each other, and it was lovely knowing that people felt responsible for you. But we also knew that for a big, long 12-hour event, there would come a time where we wouldn't have the resilience to look after each other if we were going to finish it ourselves. So we knew that there was a cut-off where, we would just, provided everybody was healthy, we would just go and do our own thing. We would never leave anybody suffering, basically. But if somebody was going a wee bit slower and somebody wanted to go a wee bit faster, then we would just go at our own paces, kind of thing. And that's what we did. And we all waited for each other at the end, so that we were all reunited at the end. In our joy.
Excellent. And then when you were sort of in the midst of it, in the thick of the event, and things were all sort of ticking along, were you aware of your training and your preparation and all these practices that you'd been doing?
Yeah, definitely. My mind would have not let me think I could do it if I hadn't done all that training. It was so steep and so hilly and so hot that had I not already done all the hills or most of them, I would have quite early on just thought, oh no, I can't keep doing this for another 12 hours. The first bit's really steep and it just pretty much just does that. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down. I think like 17 times or something like that. Big hills. Some of the people that were out had counted all the climbs. I wasn't that organised. I hadn't counted them all, but somebody was ticking them off. I kept meeting this same person and they were saying, oh, that's like 14 left.
God, I wouldn't want to know that either.
No. Well, it was nicer near the end when they were like, only 4 to go. But like my brain, I was thinking, right, I know this is hard, but I've been up it before several times. Like, there's no reason why I can't do it today. And there were people saying, oh, I can't do this. So, in my head, I was thinking, oh, well, that's good because I think I can. But that was because of the training, because I'd been and done it. And if I did another event, something like that, I think I would make the effort to actually go to the place and see it beforehand to get, I think for me that made a difference, knowing the place, knowing it was a place I've been to so many times before, and I didn't have to try and visualise it because I knew what it looked like.
It's really interesting, that sort of tool, though, just like that visualisation tool, and just thinking of it as a kind of psychological tool, the fact that you can see yourself somewhere and you've been there before, and you're able to then picture yourself back in that position, either doing something similar or doing something better, even on the day. When you were sort of out and about on the day, so that was a sort of good thing, you've got all your preparation. Were there any sort of issues on the day that you felt you had to cope with?
Well, I was really sick near the end, which hadn't happened during training because I hadn't pushed myself that hard. So, that was a bit of unpleasantness. But by that point, I was nearly finished. I was about 20k from the end by the time that happened. And that was a lot to do with just having been ill and not having had as long to train as I would have liked.
Yeah.
I'd never, I'd not gone as far a distance in training as I would really have liked to have done.
Yeah.
And I think my body just wasn't quite, my digestive system wasn't quite trained for that. Because I had felt a bit sick before when I'd been out on training rides. I hadn't actually been sick. I'd run out. I had some food left, but I couldn't face any of it. I just didn't feel like eating anything that I had. And at the feed station, they didn't have anything that I felt like. I just really wanted some fruit. And they'd all these chocolatey things and fizzy cola bottles, and just I felt sick just looking at it. But I also knew I hadn't eaten enough, and I had to eat something, so I ate something, and it made me sick. And by that, I had 20k to go roughly, I think, by then. And pals, 2 girls, had seen me being sick. They actually thought I was doing the toilet.
Oh no!
In the forest. They were like, you're doing the toilet. I was like, no, I've been sick.
Chuck it up.
Yes. And they were just laughing at me, actually, in a nice, supportive way. So that actually made me feel better, or better enough to get back on my bike. And there was, obviously, there'd been loads of faster people had finished by then. But there was still enough people, at that point that you weren't on your own. And you kept kind of passing, and they would pass, forward and back a few people. And yes, I think that kind of got me through the last bit. Just the folk that were still there.
Because you're there. You are there with other people, aren't you? And you just know that you're not on your own.
Yeah, and there was somebody that was looking worse off than me. And actually, there was a really nice guy, an Irish guy that I was with for a wee bit of that time. And with 10k to go, he got a puncture.
Oh.
And I just felt so sorry for him. Like, at that point, I was thinking, well, I am not that bad. I've not got a puncture. I can keep going. And I said to him, I don't even think I can stop to help you, because I'm done. I don't know if I can finish this. He was like, I don't want you to stop and help me. Just keep going. I'll be fine. And he was fine. Like, he didn't take long to change it. So, it was just, that kind of nice folk, and seeing other people that were at least as bad as you or worse off than you. You check your privileges, because that's the other thing. Like, you're doing it, you're thinking, I'm lucky I can do this. I'm lucky I'm healthy enough. I'm lucky I've got a bike. I'm lucky I've got all these opportunities. Nobody's making me do it. This is like a treat, to be able to do it, a privilege. So, that kind of thing.
I think that's really interesting as well, because that maybe helps answer one of our last questions, and that's the sort of, what was the best part of the day, if there was one. It's nice to hear that you felt that it was really, you were really lucky to be out there.
Yeah. I mean, there was so many good bits. I love being outside. I love the countryside up there. I just love it. It's so good for your brain. It just always makes me happy. And then being with these girls, and like the girls that organised it, I mean, at the end, they were just like, wow!
They're so excited for you,
We're so proud of you. All of that. My bestie, who's not sporty at all, came up from Glasgow to drive me home. She let me get in her car all wet and smelly and disgusting, and took me home and fed me and gave me presents. It was just like so many good bits of it. It was really, the whole thing was great, actually.
Fantastic.
The being sick was a very minor, forgotten bit. Yes. Yeah.
Great. Oh, thank you for that. And then, just as a final question, do you think that you've gained anything in particular from the whole process, from the training, the event, and then reflecting back on it?
Yep, it's definitely made me. I found something else that I like to do. I remember reading somewhere that it's on average when you're 53 that you stop doing new things.
Oh, really?
I can't remember where I read it. But it's just made me absolutely certain that I don't want to be average.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't want to stop doing anything. So I'd done road cycling before this, and I've been doing some downhill mountain bike stuff, but I'd never done any cross country mountain bike stuff. I'd never gone any distance. And I really, really enjoyed that training. I enjoyed being out in the middle of nowhere on my own. I enjoyed being with people. Like, I kind of realised sometimes I like doing it on my own.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like doing it with people. And it's made me much more keen to try a lot more off-road stuff. And these girls that I'm talking about, some of them have just done that HT 550, Time Trail 550, a really big endurance thing. And they've gone to really remote parts of Scotland. So their wee stories have made me think, like, oh, I want to do a bit more of that kind of thing. Not maybe at that level, but start off doing a bit more off-road bike packing, maybe doing some of it on my own, maybe some of it with people. But yeah, just giving me ideas for the future. It hasn't made me think I want to go and do loads more big events or anything like that. It's just given me the confidence to go and do more like good positive lifestyle things.
Nice. Excellent.
And I might do more events, but
nice.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's really nice to hear. It's just such a delight to have been part of it, and I'm really sort of delighted for you as well. Really chuffed for you.
Thank you. You've done so much for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed working with you.
Thanks.
Enjoyed not having to make the decisions.
Which you did really make. Well, thank you, Susan. That was really good of you and very kind of you to actually go through this whole process twice, because we didn't record it first time round. So I thank you for that. Yeah. Great.